What, in your opinion, makes an animator on YouTube an animator? Like, what separates the good from the clones, and what even makes a YouTube animator? But before we answer that, I have to do something. That's right, I've made massive changes to my style and my entire channel. And to commemorate this enormous change, I'm going to go over my channel and why what I was making was absolutely horrible. So strap in and allow me to educate you. This is going to take a while. Before we begin, I'd like to clarify something. There's an enormous difference between self-deprecation and self-criticism. Self-deprecation can be useful if you know how to use it, but it can only go so far as to be a running joke or to get people to understand your view on a subject. It's not useful in arguments, hence why it falls apart when any critique is thrown its way. We're not going to be doing that today. Instead, we're going to use self-criticism to highlight and show what I've been doing wrong up until this point as a content creator. I feel it's very important to take time to look at yourself and see what you're doing and take responsibility for when you screw up or make yourself look like a fool. The first step to becoming a better content creator is realizing that the content you're making isn't up to par. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's begin. I'd like to draw your attention to the static character technique. If it sounds confusing, don't worry, it's not. It's used all the time in YouTube animation or storytelling videos specifically. Basically, you have a character who represents you in the video, and instead of animating every fine detail and movement because that takes too long, you draw a set number of positions and facial expressions that fit every possible scenario. Drag it into your editing software, add a jump preset, and boom, you're done. It's really that simple, and if done correctly, it can save you days of extra animating and time wasting. I've been using this technique since the start of my channel in January, and I've saved a lot of time doing so. You see, on YouTube, if you don't want to animate mouth sync or movement tracing, you don't have to. That's the beauty of this community. You can do whatever you want, however you want, and there's bound to be someone who enjoys it, if it's unique to you. But if you decide to take this role, there are still rules you need to follow, which brings me to my next point. Take a look at this frame of my character talking. Notice anything? No? That's because there's literally nothing to notice in the frame at all. It's just a white background. And believe it or not, it's boring to look at. In older animations, I could barely get away with not having a background because my character took up 20 to 24% of the screen. Enough so that you weren't distracted by the ominous void behind me. But with the style change, I made my character smaller. And instead of adding a simple background, heck, even an essay for the audience to read, I added nothing, not a zilch, not a damn thing. This is not entertaining to watch. It's sloppy, it's lazy, and it's boring. The reason people like dated animations and Domics get away with living in purgatory is that in all cases of their character explaining or describing a scene, they are fully animated and moving, something that my channel lacks. And very recently I've gotten better at making backgrounds for my images, but still, that is very recently. I'm talking the last 1 or 2 videos on my channel. If I'm going to use the poses, that's fine, but there has to be a background, otherwise it's overplayed, extremely dull, and say it with me, boring. This is my animation frames folder. It contains every single picture or frame you've ever seen on my channel. Seriously, every face, every pose, every character, every scene, it's right here, all of it. Today this folder contains 580 unique drawings and poses. It's impressive, yes, but it's also toxic. If you've watched me for a while, you know at this point that I reuse frames from older animations, or rather from this folder. My justification for this laziness was that if a scene calls for the same pose or action that an older animation did, then why not just use that? It'll save me time, and there's no point in redrawing the same picture over and over. Except there is, and it's called creativity. Even if an animation calls for the same frame to be redrawn thousands of times, I should be doing that, not opting to show the same thing I showed 7 weeks ago. I will not do this anymore. It's the scummiest, most rundown thing an animator can do, and it's boring. God, it's so boring to look at the same thing, and it makes everyone roll their eyes at the fact that I can't even muster the time to draw something again, and I apologize for that. I give you my word, I will stop doing it. Once or twice, I'll throw the one in there. I don't know yet. I'm not the best person in this community, but even still, being a part of it brings an obligation to do right by it. You can't call yourself an animator and not act like one, and not be the best that you can be in your own way, which is why I made such a massive change in my content. It's why I spent 3 days drawing and animating this background for you guys, and another 2 making new, fun, and original poses. So I know what you must be thinking. If I hate the videos so much, why not just take them down and start over? Well, I don't hate all of them, and I'm actually proud of a select few. But no matter how flawed or genuinely bad or rehashed they are, I'm gonna keep them up. I realize I'm a man of faults, and I can take criticism and learn from it. So anything you have to ask me or say, leave it in the comments and I'll answer it. All of it, I don't care. Leave 5 if you have to. And lastly, thank you for watching these videos. From here on out, I'm actually an animator.